Bathory, a Swedish black metal, thrash metal, and Viking metal band formed in 1983 and disbanded in 2003 after the death of the lead singer. Lead singer goes by the name Quorthon, who is the band's sole consistent member. And again, in 2003, he died of a heart attack. This band began as a traditional, quote unquote, black metal band, one of the founding black metal bands, and then transitioned to become more of a thrash metal band or a blackened thrash metal band, really, and then sort of invented or moved towards Viking metal, dropping the very, very dark lyrics that they had in the original incarnation, and moving towards singing about Nordic themes and various myths, and later near the end moving more towards Nordic folk music than metal itself, kind of a combination of both. I would actually describe them as somewhat a post black metal band and somewhat of an atmospheric black metal band, actually, although they were one of the first black metal bands. Unlike bands like Immortal or Dark Throne, they didn't just stick to extreme vocals and extremely fast riff songs that kind of all sound the same. They really branched out, did a lot of instrumental work, and experimented in what they could do as musicians or as a band. This band has 12 albums, by the way, and a couple of rarities. Their first album is just called Bathory. I'll note it has an instrumental intro and a very short instrumental outro. The intro is notable. It's very moody, kind of a horror theme. There are dark bells playing in this particular intro. There's also a notable song called Hades, which just has some very repetitive riffs. This is one of their original black metal albums, so there are a lot of songs on here that have a lot of screeched vocals. They're very, very fast and very lo fi fidelity. As you get to their second album, which is called either Return or some printings call it The Return of the Darkness and Evil, you have a song called Revelation of Doom. This is an instrumental song with a lot of horror and pain and anguish to it. It's kind of nightmarish, but it's interesting for what it is. And then there are a lot of just typical black metal songs, a lot of screeching, a lot of just chaotic instrumentals, and they really stuck to the strong black metal roots for this particular album. As you get into their third album, Under the Sign of the Black Mark, there is an instrumental in the beginning called Nocternal Obeisance. Again, instrumental. It's rather short. It's kind of moody. I would say it's a 4-star. It's interesting though. They have another 4-star called 13 Candles. This has a lot of heavy repetitive riffs and sort of an atmospheric chorus. This is when they kind of start moving towards atmospheric black metal, or more or less inventing the subgenre. And it's moderately interesting, but not a fantastic song. Then you get to their album Blood Five Death, or Blood Fire Death, sorry, and they have a song called Odin Rides Over Nordland. There is some terrifying horse-related noises, not really horses screaming, but horses neighing, but like sort of angelic type horses. It's very eerie, and it's an instrumental for the most part. And I would say it's one of those where it's a 4.5, where it's for an instrumental, it's very unique and very interesting, and it's meant to portray the mood of the album, and it does so very well. It is immediately followed by the lead song on the album called A Fine Day to Die. It just kind of blends into this song. This is also Bathory's most popular song in general. It starts with this soft beginning and it's kind of mellow, and then it moves to this, insane sort of black metal repetitive riff where they get really extreme and near the middle of the song. And then near the end, you hear more of those horse related sounds and, noises and all that. And then there's a chaotic breakdown and finally a very heavy ending. It's actually probably their first really good song. It's not my favorite song of all their discography, but it's a pretty good one. And then they have a short outro that's kind of moody. of their early material where they're doing a lot more black metal stuff. This is their best album in that time period. Their next album, their fifth album, is called Hammerheart, which, there's a song called Shores of In Flames. That begins with an ocean sound and a very soft intro. There are clean vocals in this song, which is very different. It's quite long as well, and then it has some very heavy riffs, and it's quite moody, but it's actually a really good song overall. They have a song called Valhalla. It has a very distorted guitar intro. It's very has very moody instrumentals, kind of a cult-like chorus or like a choir chorus that's kind of in the background. Again, this is where they move more towards atmospheric music and or black metal in general. And then they have another really good song called Sung to Haul Up High. I'm probably saying that wrong. Sing to Song to Haul Up High. It's something like that, which it begins with soft guitar work and is overall just clean vocals, but it's just a good song in general, and it's a little more accessible to the general public than a lot of their earlier materials. This is followed by an album, their sixth album called Twilight of the Gods, with the song Blood and Iron, which is a good song, very long, with a soft intro with the guitar, and it gets harder, and there are clean vocals in this song. This is one of those where I'd say it's kind of a 4.5. It's fairly good, it's more than notable, and it's just kind of interesting when you listen to the whole song. Now, then they have a song called Hammerheart, which is kind of ironic because Hammerheart was the name of their prior album. This song has a very epic chorus. It's one of those, again, 4.5s where it's more than notable, but not quite their best material. It kind of reminds me of the themes from games like Oblivion and Skyrim, but although it predated those games by more than a decade, probably 2 decades. But it's fairly interesting nonetheless. Not amazing, but pretty good. Now, the seventh album, Requiem, has a 4-star song called Requiem. It's interesting. It's got some interesting bell noises, some discordant guitar, and some thrash metal riffs. At this point, this is when they started becoming a blackened thrash metal band. They also have another 4-star song called Necrotius. It's very much black and thrash or just thrash metal. A lot of these songs remind me of sort of early Metallica, only with more of a black metal sound to them. The follow-up album, also a black and thrash metal album, is called Octagon. I don't personally recommend this album necessarily. There is some actual Viking metal in here as well, where they transition kind of back to Viking metal. The only thing I would actually note is the song Deuce, which is a blackened thrash metal cover of a Kiss song. It's not great. In fact, I think it's actually only somewhat notable, but if you like Kiss and you happen to like Bathory a lot, then you might like it. And then we go over to their album Blood on Ice, which you will find that there's a good song called Blood on Ice. It's the title song, with a very choir-like chorus to it, and it's pretty good. It's not great. There's another 4-star called The Woodsman, and another one called The Lake. They're good. They're clean vocals. They're kind of interesting. But the real strong song on the album is called Man of Iron. It's a clean vocal song with a really good melody. This is one of those songs where I find myself listening to it quite often, and it's one of my favorite songs of their entire discography. There's another song as well called The Stallion. It's kind of similar to The Woodsman and The Lake, but it's, I think, the better of those particular songs. It's like a 4.5. It has clean vocals and very steady riffs, and it's got a little more energy than the Woodsman and the Lake. And then, lastly, on this album, they have a song called The Ravens, which is very calm and has kind of raven sounds to it. It's one of the better songs on the album, and it makes the album kind of stand out. Now, then we get to their next album, Destroyer of Worlds. This is one of those black and thrash metal albums again. There is a song called Lake of Fire, which I describe as a 4-star. It's not bad, but it's not great. But it's worth looking at. Finally, we get to their last 2 albums, Nordland 1 and Nordland 2. Nordland 1 has a few sort of 4 stars in here, but has a lot of good songs. In fact, I think it's their best album. Their instrumental, opening instrumental prelude is very moody and kind of a great way to get into the album. They have a song just called Nordland. It's got pretty good. It's got some clean. It's very clean and it's got a lot of energy to it. There is a song, one of their best songs, called Ring of Gold. It's very calm. It's acoustic for the most part, and it's got a nature theme to it. It's very different from their early stuff, which was black metal stuff. It's almost the opposite of what they did in the very beginning. And then they have a song called a forward. I'm probably saying this wrong, but a forward woods, which has an instrumental beginning, very good riffs. It's quite clean. It's one of their best songs overall. I'll put the name in the actual the name with all these songs in the description area for YouTube, and that way you can read what the name actually is to make it clear. That's one of their best songs, though. Again, worth checking out. And then there's another great song called Broken Sword with very fast riffs, clean vocals. It opens with an instrumental, or it opens more with an ocean sound, and it has a lot of soft guitar work on the outro, which again is very interesting. And there's another 4-star called Great Hall. The Great Hall Awaits of a Fallen Brother, which is not bad. It's not great, but it's a pretty good song. And then finishing the album, there's a song called Helmsfard, which is another instrumental with the sounds of boats, the sea, birds, and it's a very calm and just very different sound compared to what they did in the very beginning. Again, almost the opposite of what their early material was. Now, lastly, we get over to Nordland 2. There's a song in the beginning called Fanfare. It's an instrumental song. It's reasonably long, but it's actually it has kind of a hymn like nature to it, but I would recommend it. It's a pretty good song. It's one of those 5 stars, I'd say. There's a 4-star called Bloodied Shore with some hard riffs and clean vocals. And then there's another 4-star called Death and Resurrection of a Northern Sun. It's pretty good. It's very aggressive riffs, kind of clean vocals. It fades out to a soft instrumental in the middle, and it ends quite heavy. Probably one of the best songs on the album. It is one of those I'd call a 4.5. Now, they also have a song on there called The Wheel of Sun, and which is pretty good, not great. It's worth listening to, though. Now, of the rarities, only 3 songs really come to mind. One is a cover of Ace of Spades. This is a Motorhead cover. It's a very aggressive cover. It's very moody. I would say it's between a 4 and a 4.5. It's good. It kind of stands out. It sounds as good as the original, but very different because it's a different style. They have another song called Black Diamond. It's another cover, and I think it's a Kiss cover. It's not bad. It's very aggressive. It's interesting. And then they have a cover of War Pigs, which by Black Sabbath, which I think is actually their best cover, and I describe that as a 5-star cover. Now, overall, I would describe this band as Bathory as about a 3-star band. They have a lot of albums that are kind of hit or miss, but they have a couple albums with some great, just kind of interesting songs that are unexpected and what you would not expect from a black metal band in general. And there's a couple albums that are way stronger than others, namely Nordland 1, with Nordland 2 isn't quite as good. But overall, they're worth listening to, especially if you want to listen to more extreme music, but they're not as crazy and as extreme as, some other black metal acts that are out there that only put out, absolutely wild and ridiculous vocals and never deviate from that. They definitely deviate from the norm. And again, they lean towards Nordic folk and Nordic folk metal in the end before the band split apart.